Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mental Health Check. I'm Travis, this is Kimberly Smith, and we are going to walk you a little bit through what it looks like to take a break in your day and just check in with your mental health. So first of all, Kimberly, thank you for joining us again today. Really appreciate you having on board. And what do you have for us today?
Sure. Yeah. I really think I want to talk about stress versus anxiety, right? Because stress is no doubt a part of our lives. It comes
Yes, ma'am.
at us from all angles, right? From
Yes, ma'am.
our home life, from work, from school, from our families, from our extended families. Uh, so really, it's very easy for us to get overloaded,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now with COVID, we're all feeling it. So just want to expand on that and talk about, anxiety and how that kind of stems from stress. So what's the
Okay.
difference,
Yeah,
right?
what
A
is the
lot of
difference?
people, yeah. So stress in itself, right, is
Mm-hmm.
basically the feeling of emotional tension or pressure,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's really a bunch of emotions kind of tied up into like one thing, right? And you feel that pressure. And that's why it's so hard to deal with sometimes because it's a culmination of things and we're not
Mm.
really sure what we're dealing with, or we don't have the time to really ask ourselves that question. What are we feeling and where is it coming from? Or
Mm.
maybe it's coming from all areas, right? And basically, anxiety is our body's natural response to stress, right? So
Okay.
it's that feeling of fear and apprehension. It's that fight or flight reaction, right? So it's very primal. It's an instinct that we have. It's very automatic
Okay.
in our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's hard. The stress that we have in our life tends to morph into anxiety and fear very quickly if we don't kind of check in with ourselves and get a wrangle on it.
Understood. So basically, stress is normal because it's a normal part of our lives. Things happen that we might not plan on, or even things that we expect and don't necessarily want to happen, or we're really excited about something to happen and we're just kind of waiting for that to come to fruition. But all of that is kind of stress within our bodies. But the anxiety is more of the fear related to that stress. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Okay.
anxiety is definitely a fear-based emotion,
Okay.
right? So and all emotions are energy. They're energy within our
Mm,
body. Anxiety tends to be energy that doesn't really have an outlet, right?
okay.
It's when that stress and all of the emotions that are tied up in that ball of stress have
Mm,
nowhere to go, have no outlet,
okay.
right? That's when we tend to feel fearful because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what it's going to
Mm,
come out, right? And also the lack of control, right?
mm,
The lack of, like you mentioned, things happening that we don't have control over.
right.
By our cultural standards, we all live pretty stressful lives right now.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of factors that we don't have control over, right?
Okay.
And that, you know, just creates a lot of fear of the unknown, a lot of fear of, people's reactions and other people's behaviors and what's going to happen, right? That
Right.
it's hard to prepare for.
Okay. So is anxiety more like worry? So if somebody says, I'm worried about something, is that the same thing as anxious?
Well, it's definitely more than just being a little worried.
Okay.
Anxiety, how that really shows up is a persistent, excessive worry. It's
Mm,
almost a feeling of dread. It's this
okay.
irritability, this frustration, which, again, it's that
Basically
energy that
explains
doesn't have
most
an
of my
outlet.
life, but go ahead.
So it's that energy that doesn't have an outlet and
Mm,
it's distracting. So, along with
it
that
is indeed.
persistent worry,
Hmm.
persistent and excessive worry, it makes it difficult to concentrate. We often have a really pessimistic mindset that goes along with it. We
Mm,
feel that stopping our worry is beyond our control, right?
okay.
Um, so there's a lot of symptoms, a lot of things that really define it, and it could be slightly different for each person. It's
Okay.
very subjective.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So what are some of the things that we should be on the lookout for whenever that stress becomes excessive anxiety? or some of the things that we might need to take action? What are those stages that we should really be concerned about?
I think everything just starts with awareness, right?
Mm.
Like really checking in with yourself daily, multiple times a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you're noticing that you just don't feel good, like we know when something doesn't feel right, when we don't feel good,
Okay.
when we're not sleeping, right? Like if we're not sleeping well and we're having fatigue issues, if our appetite changes, if we have like other physical symptoms like an increased heart rate or shortness of breath,
Mm-hmm.
right? So taking time to really check in and slow down and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? What's causing this feeling, right? And also looking at your plate, right? How much do you have going on? And where can you simplify? Um, that's we go at lightning speed these days and we want to do everything, right? We're very achievement oriented. We wear our stress like a badge of honor.
You're killing me here, Smalls.
Yeah. And I refuse to normalize that dialogue that
Mm.
says that the more stress and the more things that we're doing means that we're valued higher, right? It just
Mm.
our productivity is not a reflection of our worth.
Then
So
we all medicate, but this is tea. It's okay.
yeah, sure it is, sure, yeah. But really, yeah. So checking in with yourself, looking at how much you've taken on, and seeing how you can simplify. What can you
Mm.
delegate? What can you outsource? Um, it really all starts there. And what the things that are woven into that are
Mm-hmm.
time management and boundaries, and also taking care of yourself, self-care, right? If you're having these panic attacks and shortness of breath and GI issues and sleep problems, you are in need of some serious
Should
self-care.
I just go to the hospital now?
No, you should just book a coaching session with me.
There you go. You heard it here, folks. I need a coaching session, obviously.
We all do, right? We all need to be
Mm.
supported and keep each other in check.
Mm-hmm. I need to feel valued.
Yes, you are valued.
Oh, thank you. I know. So what do you want to leave us with today?
In here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think,
Put you on the spot.
yeah, for sure. I think making time for self care and learning to recognize the signs of
Mm-hmm.
excessive stress turning into anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a normal amount of stress and anxiety is natural.
Mm-hmm.
It can even be beneficial, right? So there is beneficial stress that keeps us
Mm-hmm.
motivated, it keeps us forward moving and action oriented. And then there's really self-destructive levels of stress that turn into anxiety that compromise
Okay.
our health in other ways. So recognizing and learning to decipher between those two,
Okay.
and then asking yourself what you need
Mm.
and putting yourself first.
It's not in my DNA,
Yeah,
at least that last
no,
part.
you
So
got to
would you
change the
recommend actually
hierarchy.
making a physical list, maybe listing out those different symptoms that we're having just so we can actually see the signs and maybe tracking them on a daily basis? The more signs that you're showing, the more you need to be more intentional about it. Okay.
Absolutely.
All
You
right.
can be part of your morning check-in or maybe your evening check-in. Maybe you incorporate it into your morning routine or your evening ritual where you journal a bit and say, how am I feeling today? How did today
Mm.
go? Right? And, you know, my body felt this way, or I felt overwhelmed. I had a headache, and
Mm-hmm.
really just taking note of your personal behaviors,
Okay.
the different responsibilities that are weighing on you,
Mm-hmm.
and and that awareness, right? Once you
Okay.
know what your triggers are, then you
Mm.
can kind of change some of it for the better.
I hear you. Okay. That was a lot of information chalked into a small span of time. So y'all are
Yeah.
going to have to watch this over and over and over again. Get your friends, get some popcorn. We'll be here for when you're ready. Okay.